So we have France, but from China, actually. So people from France, a lot of people from the Philippines and from Chile. We are very excited to have all of you. So next question here takes a little bit to load, is the same link. So you don't have to rescan the code, but we want to know how old are you, more or less, just to get to know each other a little bit better. Great. So we have people that are under 18. We also have 5 people around 22 and 25, 26 and 29. Thank you so much for being here. And we have one thing, we're going to have 2 more questions. So when you hear the word AI, what comes to mind? Any words that come to mind? Cuando escuchas IA, ¿qué palabras se te vienen a la cabeza? And we're very happy to have you here. Okay, let's go. How do you use AI more often? Homework, tareas, generate ideas, generar ideas, translate, traducir, generate images, generar imágenes, search information, buscar información. Other uses, I don't use AI. Generating ideas and searching for information, as we can see. So by the end, we're going to collect your emails. So make sure to write your email there so you can access. We're going to share presentation and video with subtitles. So now I want to introduce to you Eloín Ramón Burgada. I'm assuming I'm pronouncing it correctly. She's the Global Public Affairs and Relations Manager at the Global Youth Dialogue Among Civilizations Alliance. Welcome, Eloín, and thank you for also putting this together.
Thank you so much. And yes, you pronounce it really right. It's Spanish, actually, Ramón Burgada. But today I'm speaking in English, right? So I'm very happy to open today's webinar, the impact of AI in our world. I think today it's a very big topic and we need to talk about this. As Lola said, I'm currently part of GYDCA. So GYDCA is Global Youth Dialogue Among Civilizations Alliance. So that is an association based at UNESCO with every other delegation. And we're also an international platform for all the youth around the world to create a dialogue among civilizations, to erase stereotypes and learn more from each other. And who knows, perhaps you're the future leaders of tomorrow and you'll create more peace thanks to that. So big thanks for being here with us today. And this webinar was created with Bespark because we shared the same values and wanted to do something meaningful together. So here's the conversation, especially important because artificial intelligence is no longer something far away, futuristic, or reserved for experts. AI is already part of our daily lives, right? And it is in the apps we use, the videos we watch, the searches we make, the content we see on social media, and sometimes even in the messages, images, and profiles we interact with online. So at GYDCA, our mission is also to support young people in becoming empowered digital citizens. For us, digital citizens means understanding how the digital world works, how information circulates, and how technology influences our behavior, and how we can make responsible choices online. And this webinar really matters because we're living in a world that is more connected than ever before. And we can talk to someone on the other side of the world in seconds. We can access news, videos, education, and opportunities instantly. We can create, share, learn, organize ourselves online. But at the same time, many young people feel more disconnected, confused, and we can say overwhelmed than ever. We're surrounded by information, but not all information is true. We're surrounded by images, but not all images are real. We're surrounded by profiles, but not all profiles represent real people. And we're surrounded by opinions, but not all opinions are honest or human, right? So artificial intelligence has changed the way we perceive reality. For example, today, a young person can see a photo of celebrity saying something political, but the image may have been generated or manipulated by AI. Someone can share a news headline that looks serious and professional, but it may be completely false. A social media account can appear to be a real influencer with beautiful photos, captions, and followers, but the person behind it may not exist at all. We also see AI generated models being used in advertising or on social media. They may have perfect skin, perfect bodies, perfect lifestyles, and perfect personalities, but they are not real human beings. And I don't know if you're aware, but right now there is a trend with being in a football place, and influencers are using AI to recreate this scene, and they're perfect. And this is not helping also how to accept yourself, and that the perfect part is not true, is not the real life. So it can influence how young people see themselves, their bodies, their value, and their identity. Boats or another example. Sometimes we think we are reading the opinion of real people online, but it may be an automated account designed to influence our emotions, our political opinions, our purchases, or our beliefs. This creates a very important challenge for our generation. How do we know what is real? How do we recognize what is artificial? For now, it's easy, but for then, how it will be? How do we protect ourselves from manipulation? And how do we stay authentic in a world where digital identity can be edited, filtered, or generated? The challenge is no longer simply using technology. Most young people already know how to use digital tools, right? The real challenge is more learning how to understand them. For example, when we see a shocking video online, do we immediately believe it and share it? Or do we stop and ask, wait, where does this come from? Who posted it? Is there a reliable source? Could this be manipulated? Because when we read a post that makes us angry or afraid, do we react instantly, or do we ask ourselves, is this trying to manipulate my emotions? Is this information complete? Is another perspective missing? It's not black and white, it's the gray part. These questions are not only technical, they are human questions, actually. They affect trust, relationships, self esteem, democracy, education, and the way we understand the world around us. So, this is why today's conversations matters. The main objective of this webinar is to help young people better understand these challenges. We also want to encourage responsibility. I think this word is really important, because responsibility does not mean rejecting technology. It means using technology with intention. It means thinking before sharing. It means verifying before believing, or remembering that behind every screen, there can be real consequences for real people. And finally, we want to strengthen critical thinking. Critical thinking is one of the most important skills in the age of AI, because you talk about apocalypse or fear or anger or this kind of word before. Here is perhaps a solution, but Lola and Fran will talk about it way better than me. And AI can generate text and image, videos, voices, and ideas too. We need to remember that. But it does not replace human conscience. It does not replace empathy. It does not replace lived experiences. And it does not replace our responsibility to think, to question, and to care. Technology should serve humanity, not replace it. And young people have a central role in that future. You are not only users of technology, you are future leaders, creators, educators, entrepreneurs, voters, activists, and community builders. The way you understand and use AI today will influence the digital world of tomorrow. Today, we're not here to fear AI. Fear alone does not help us move forward. Because in a world where machines can create more and more and more content, our values become even more important. Truth, empathy, creativity, responsibility, and authenticity. This is the main word. And those choices belong to us. So thank you again for being here. I'm very happy to begin this discussion with you also. And now I'm pleased like to let Lola introduce the other speaker, and I'm really glad to do this webinar with all of you and with Bespark.
Great. Thank you so much, Eloine. Very excited to be here. Now I'm going to present my associate, Francisca Mayanes. She's Strategy and Culture Director at Bisparck Chile, and she's going to speak on behalf of us both.
Gracias, Lola. For the English speakers, I'm just letting you know that my presentation is going to be in Spanish. Okay, so buenos días a todos acá en Latinoamérica, buenas noches en otros lugares. Nosotros en BSpark lo que nos buscamos es potenciar los talentos individuales para poder generar impacto colectivo. ¿Ya? Perdón. Tiene un poco de delay la app. Bueno, en ese sentido, para nosotros el foco o el centro está la persona, ¿ya? Entonces, cuando hablamos de tecnología, eh, hablamos de que hay que humanizar la tecnología. ¿Por qué? Porque hemos olvidado que la tecnología la creamos nosotros, ¿ya? La tecnología nace de la creatividad y de la innovación y de nuestra experiencia para poder resolver ciertas actividades o problemáticas que nosotros tenemos, ¿ya? Entonces, por ejemplo, nosotros necesitamos mejorar algunas cosas en algunos aspectos de nuestras vidas, necesitamos resolver grandes desafíos, buscar nuevas oportunidades y la tecnología nos ayuda a poder resolver esos temas. Lo que es importante es no olvidar que nosotros hoy debemos empoderarnos frente a la tecnología. No es la tecnología que nos maneja a nosotros, somos nosotros quienes manejamos la tecnología. Y hoy día nos encontramos en un punto de inflexión. ¿Ya? Hoy día vemos una necesidad de dirigirnos hacia una sociedad más antropocéntrica, es decir, con el ser humano en el centro. ¿Ya? Para eso, ¿qué necesitamos? Necesitamos desarrollar nuestra creatividad, ¿ya? Que es la esencia de nuestra capacidad inventiva, ¿ya? Para ir mejorando también estas tecnologías, para ir resolviendo más cosas que necesitamos resolver, ¿cierto? O necesitaremos resolver en el futuro. También es muy importante desarrollar nuestra capacidad de agencia, ¿ya? Que es nuestra voluntad de actuar con intención, ¿ya? Nosotros necesitamos desarrollar la capacidad para comprender y tomar una decisión asertiva sobre el uso de la tecnología. Y eso es la agencia. Yo tengo autonomía como persona, pero además yo tomo la decisión de cómo usar esta tecnología para mi beneficio, pero para mi beneficio, para mi ayuda, no para que me resuelva un ensayo, para que me haga un ensayo, me resuelva una tarea, no, sino que más bien es como un apoyo. Pero yo necesito tener la capacidad de agencia, que es decir, de tomar decisión asertiva frente al uso de la tecnología, ¿ya? Y finalmente, yéndonos a esta sociedad más con foco en el ser humano, em, tenemos que usar la tecnología y pensar la tecnología para un impacto colectivo, ¿ya? El impacto es la fuerza transformadora de lo colectivo, ¿ya? Nosotros somos la fuerza transformadora de lo colectivo, los jóvenes son la fuerza transformadora. Y bueno, para finalizar, porque vienen más speakers que van a decir cosas mucho más interesantes que nosotros. Hay que liderar el nuevo paradigma y nosotras en BS Park creemos fielmente que quienes tienen que hacerlo son los jóvenes. Creemos que la juventud tiene el poder de generar los mayores cambios. ¿Por qué? Porque son ustedes los que están viendo este momento de inflexión, son ustedes los que están viendo cómo esto está avanzando tan rápido y les queda todo un futuro por delante para seguir desarrollando tecnología, para seguir usando tecnología y también para seguir reflexionando sobre el uso de la tecnología. Ustedes son el centro del futuro que estamos nosotros diseñando hoy. Así que por eso nosotros también quisimos ser parte de este webinar, porque queremos incentivarlos y empoderarlos frente a la tecnología. La IA nos ayuda, plataformas nos ayudan, pero somos nosotros quienes tenemos que tomar las decisiones sobre cómo usarlo y cómo usarlo para potenciar mi propio talento, pero también para generar un impacto colectivo. Bueno, ahora voy a presentar a la siguiente speaker. Ella es Ana Micaela Lasatín. Ella es psicóloga educativa, profesora de psicología en la Universidad de Ángeles y máster en psicología educativa de la Universidad de Sydney. So I'm letting you with Mikey, Hannah Micaela, and she's going to start her presentation right now. Hi, Mikey.
Hi, Fran. Thank you so much for the warm introduction. And yes, just to reiterate, my name is Mikey, and I'm coming in from the Philippines. And before I really begin, I'd just like to really extend my thanks to Lola, Eloine, and Fran for organizing this webinar. Honestly, I think it's incredibly important for us to start these conversations with everyone, and also for us to sort of see what life is like on the other side of the globe. So, yes. So thank you so much. And really, what my talk will be focusing on is going from automation to just augmentation and the importance of discernment in the AI era. And so, before I get into the thick of our discussion or the points that I'd like to make, I'd just like to invite everyone to do a quick pulse check, and please oh, do put in your answers on Mentimeter on how you've used AI in the last week. So I just want to sort of see here how much AI has integrated in itself into our everyday lives. So let's go ahead and type how you've used AI in the last week. I myself use this for checking my grammar in some points. Sometimes I ask it to write emails. Okay, I see here for academic reasons, yes. Code debugging, wow. Generating images, writing application letters. Oh, wow. Finding restaurants, I like it. Very practical. Grammar checks. Okay, thank you so much for putting in your answers. Actually, you can continue to do so, and we'll be able to read them afterwards. But for the purpose or in the interest of time, I think we can all really agree that AI is just it's just very useful, right? And for the youth, such as yourself, you might be using AI as virtual tutors. Maybe you've chatted with some AI bots to help you understand lessons better. Maybe uh, there are some things that can be taught to you in the same preference that you might enjoy, like infographics, etc. So what's really great about AI is it's no longer bound by the classroom, and really you get to see and access information 24/7. And we've just seen here from your examples, your own answers, that AI is just an incredibly useful tool. It automates, it optimizes, it even enhances to some degree human capability, right? But the magic of AI isn't in making things faster. The true power of AI is that it sort of acts as a great equalizer. So, just to give you some deeper background into the context here that I'm coming from, and to sort of understand what we mean by great equalizer. For those of you who might be unfamiliar with the Philippines, this here, I'd like to invite you all to look at your screen, is a graphic representation of the socioeconomic status here in the Philippines. So as a developing country, we've always had a sort of stark divide between our digital usage, our economics. And so we actually see that there is a very tiny and very sad 1% of the population that sits at the high income peak. And these are the people who have access to world-class education, quality resources, finances, while the vast majority actually lay a little bit or experience significant barriers to information. And with this, I hope you sort of begin to compare with your own local context. Maybe it might be similar to this, maybe not. But really, what AI is able to do, it creates the opportunity to bypass these challenges. We're essentially democratizing information and placing this opportunity at the hands of everyone equally. So, but I would like to ask you this. If machines do the thinking for us, are we actually leveling the field? Or are we sort of inhibiting our ability to learn? So right now, we're very much swimming in data. Data's everywhere. But wisdom and clarity is slowly disappearing. And I'll get into this more specifically. Actually, for this, I'd like us all to note that, or I'll be citing a 2025 study, which found a significant negative correlation between frequently using AI and our critical thinking abilities. And it's really because we're handing over the reins sometimes, or maybe too often the time, to AI. And researchers are slowly cautioning us that we're losing our human voices. As a teacher, actually, I would like to share my experience. I've had the very great pleasure of teaching at the tertiary level. And, I'd like to request sometimes for my students to reflect on what we've been talking about, what are their opinions. And it was sometimes, of course, it's very great to hear their answers. But I was also quite sad to see that for an essay or an answer of 2 to 3 sentences, some students would still use AI to answer the question. So really, I question whether AI is slowly taking us away from this thinking, because it's just too easy to type in and submit that button, right? Copy paste. So if we really delve deeper into this issue here, it brings us to a very documented worst case scenario, which in the Philippine context is the Philippine infodemic. In the Philippines, social media is very much prevalent in our context, and AI-driven content doesn't just entertain here, it actually becomes a primary source of truth for millions of people. And very closely related is, well, you cannot talk about AI without getting into politics. And so in the past few campaigns and national elections, we've found that there's just been an uptick in using of AI and the sharing of social media content that might not necessarily be the truth. So I think this was already sort of touched on by Elowen a while ago. And really, I've had numerous students come up to me during our discussions in class, and they would tell me like, "Ma'am, I actually had supported a politician and found out that their credentials and their achievements were actually faked by social media. So it's very alarming to see that AI is slowly shaping our reality, and it's being done through all of this digital noise. And the when we go deeper into this issue, it's actually becoming harder to convince people now of what's true and what's false. And this is really partly due to our so-called FYPs, or your For You pages and algorithms. And really, we're just seeing what we want to believe. We're seeing one side of the conversation and living in our own digital bubbles. But when we have these conversations, or when we have these blinders in effect on our online activity, we're only starting to see and connect data sets that might not actually be connected. And this is why, it's starting to sound more like a conspiracy. And you'll find this actually in our image here in the unicorn image, where we're just really starting to form our own opinions based on what we already know and what we don't want to see. Okay. And so I want us all to sort of leave here um, with these two main takeaways. And the first one is that critical thinking is very much our shield in this world of AI. In this very saturated world of AI, the most important skill now isn't coding, it's actually discernment. And we all really need to learn how to interrogate the source. What is the intent behind somebody posting this? Are they credible? Are we biased towards a specific conversation or dialogue? So really, we really have to think about and question things. And our second main takeaway for this section of the talk is that I don't want AI to be or to seem as if I'm warning you or dissuading you from AI. No, it's definitely not. We're very much in the learning curve of using AI. And what we've shown, or throughout history, every time we've experienced a technological shift, we are able to adapt. And that's so very much true for you, those of you who are in the youth, who have learned AI at a younger age. We have seen this when we were introduced to television. We were told our brains were going to rot. We were introduced to the internet, social media, and told like, oh, we're going to be zombies. But really, AI is a tool for us. And the goal is not just to be users of AI, but to really be empowered to understand that we get to become architects of our own digital reality. And once we see AI as the tool it's meant to be, we can harness this to change our own physical realities by helping us create social programs for change, impact your local communities through education, spread awareness about different issues and the like. So before I hand over the reins, I'd like to invite everyone to please state a commitment with me. You do finish this sentence here. To stay human in the age of AI, I will. And so, okay. So this can be as simple as read more books, or verify before sharing, talk to my friends more. Okay.
So if you're just joining, you can scan this QR code to participate in and answer Mikey's questions and future questions that are coming.
Right. All right. Thank you, Lola. Fact check more, be more responsible. Yes. So it's very much important to stay human, though we might slowly integrate more machinery into our everyday lives. Be emotional. Use it in tandem with my brain. Scroll less. All right. So thank you very much for participating in this very short activity. It's very great to see people standing firm what they believe in. But of course, all great things must end. So I will hand now the reins to our very esteemed next speaker, Martin. You may have the spotlight.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mikey, for your presentation in record time, very punctual, 15 minutes. I'm very happy to present to you our next speaker. He's Martín Cáceres. He's the director at the AI Hub at Pontificia Universidad Católica in Chile. And for the past 4 years, he was the director of the Innovation Center at the Ministry of Education, just on the burst of AI and education. So he has dealt with this issue for a long time, and we're very happy to have him here sharing his perspectives.
Thank
Hello,
you.
Martin.
Hello, hello. Thank you, Lola. Thank you, Mikey, and thank you all the team. I'm very happy to share with you some thoughts, right in the line of what Mikey um, was telling about how can we make choices, important choices, and be architects of this world. I think that it is not easy. We are in a difficult world, in a difficult world, because the decisions are being taken not necessarily by the democratic systems, but by private interests. So how can we, as citizens, as academics, or wherever we are, be agents of change? That's what I want to address in my presentation. And my role in the AI Hub in the university, in the Pontifical University, in the Catholic University of Chile, is to think and to take actions on how artificial intelligence can be in the service for humanity. Because we have a big dilemma. Artificial intelligence is not designed for that. So we have to make a big effort to make this shift from private and particular interests to the service of humanity. I would like to share some advances of artificial intelligence, just to make a panorama of what are the current changes. So if you can play the video, we see robots that now can do things that some years ago were impossible. As you can see in the video, now it's just a joke. This is just a few weeks ago. There was a marathon in China, in Beijing, to see the robot's capabilities. And this same experiment was made 1 year ago, and the fastest robot was twice as slow as the humans. So, but now the panorama is very different. In the same marathon, there was a record, and the winner, the robot that won the race, could superate, was faster than humans. So in just 1 year, autonomous robots could run. It's a very technically it's very difficult to coordinate a robot, to make all the movements, to stand in two legs, to balance their bodies, and to be autonomous, to have the equilibrium, and to run, to have the batteries. Technically, it's very, very difficult, and in just 1 year, the improvements are very impressive. Some weeks ago, there was a release or a test in Anthropic, the enterprise that runs Claude. I don't know if you heard about it, but it's a system that is called Mythos. And the system is so powerful so that it couldn't be released to the public because it revealed important gaps in all the systems of in the banks, in all the systems that we use. There are important flaws in cybersecurity. So a tool like that can hack the whole system that we rely on. So we have a system that is very fragile with tools that are very powerful that can hack them. And well, Anthropic took the decision to not release this tool to the public, but this flagship shows that other enterprise could develop these tools that are very powerful and dangerous to the global system. There's also improvements on how artificial intelligence can do scientific research. In the Nature magazine, one of the most prestigious academic scientific publications, there was one publication about one tool that can make end-to-end end-to-end research from raising hypotheses, raising a methodology, checking the hypothesis, the methodology, testing, writing the paper, and publishing. From the starting point to the end point, artificial intelligence can do research, scientific research on the field of artificial intelligence. So this was some years ago only science fiction, and now artificial intelligence can do it. It was unimaginable and impossible to think that some years ago. Improvements such as the AlphaFold database, there was a Nobel Prize about this. The prediction of how proteins are built, that it's the basis of how we understand life, medicine, biotechnology. Before artificial intelligence, some distance only of proteins were decoded, and now we can see millions of proteins complexes that we can understand and predict. And that's a big improvement for medicine and for our understanding of biology. And several fields are touched by the advance of artificial intelligence. For example, this is a new of Budaroid, a Buddhist robot that praises, talks with people, and do all the works that the priests do. What does it mean to religion? So there are very important pressing and philosophical questions about what we are doing with artificial intelligence. I will jump for the next one, and I would like to answer this question first. We are talking about artificial intelligence, but many times we don't grasp fully what it is. Commonly, it is understood as a branch of computer science that works to imitate human cognition. That's like the idea of Alan Turing in 1950, 70 years ago. And that's like the common definition that you can find in Wikipedia, in different places. But I think that we have to understand it deeper than that, because it is at least a set of functions, mathematical functions, that make statistical learning from inputs, big amounts of data, and approximate some functions through a process of training, data training, and it's statisticals. It's important to understand that because there isn't any truth in what artificial intelligence says. Artificial intelligence does not understand anything. It only computes. It's a computational machine, and it makes statistical approximations. So there's the technical definition that it's important to understand, because otherwise we may have misconceptions about the opportunities and also the limitations. But it is also a planetary infrastructure of supercomputers, data centers, trading relationships, to process large amounts of data and integrate it in a global information system. This is important also because we usually tend to think about concepts like the cloud, and we think that it's like ethereal, that it's not embodied, that it's not physical, but it is physical. There are minerals. There's a trading, economic, global system that depends on this. So it is real, physical, tangible. And the third is an third important definition, that it's an epistemic ecosystem that reorganizes how we produce and work with knowledge and make decisions. So one important, interesting visualization of this is this global map that we can see all the data centers, the cables, the points where the energy is being produced, and we can see this whole world interconnected system. So artificial intelligence is not just a chatbot, it's this planetary infrastructure. Maybe we can share the link of this. You can explore it, and it's very interesting to see. So we have to have all these components in our minds. So very briefly, and this is a simplification, but I think that for the debate it's important to see, to understand some of this. How does generative AI work? There's a process of training with millions of data. From the data, it takes patterns, and it's a process of pre-training. Then humans have to fine-tune to see if the predictions and the patterns are correct or not, and they have to align it to some values. So all these are human decisions that are made to see if the responses that artificial intelligence is giving are correct or not. And it's a massive amount of work to make this training. And then there is the interaction with users that we are used to, that like ChatGPT or Claude or DeepSeek, that we have a prompt. Then the system, based on this process of training, predicts answers and then respond. So as I was telling, artificial intelligence does not understand, it cannot learn, it only computes probabilities. And of course, there are potentials and risks of the use of generative artificial intelligence. It can personalize learning, it can help us think deeper, it can save us time, and it can help us manage projects that without artificial intelligence is very difficult to manage. Now with agentic artificial intelligence, we can do awesome things, but it can also encourage social isolation, deteriorate cognitive functions. It can foster standardization of knowledge and depersonalization. And our creations can make harm and not good. So what can we do? What should we do in this dilemma of artificial intelligence being created by these planetary forces? What can we do as citizens? One option that I have been reading is to opt out, to say, well, I don't want to be part of this. I don't want to use artificial intelligence because of all these ethical problems. But I think that if we opt out, we have not any chance to influence the development. So I would say that opt-out, it can be ethically respectfully for me, but you are getting out of the possibilities to influence the development. Another option is to regulate. A lot of countries are regulating. The European Union, for example, is regulating the development of artificial intelligence to have ethical use of artificial intelligence. And in Latin America, for example, in Chile, in the Congress, a law of artificial intelligence is being debated. So this has to be a political debate on how regulations should take place. And that can be in local environments also, not only at national level, but in the organizations that we work. We have to share common principles and see what uses are going to be allowed or what orientations are we going to dictate. Another very important is to foster ethical, critical, and responsible uses through education. All of us who work in education have a very important role to play. And the other is to develop solutions based on artificial intelligence that serve to foster what makes us human. And some examples of political of activism that we can play. Well, the national laws, institutional ethical frameworks and guidance. For example, in the university that I work, we have an ethical framework, and we are working in massive professional development for academics, for students, for administrators of the university, to guide the use of artificial intelligence to be ethical. And that has to be a conversation between all the stakeholders. In the fostering critical uses, these kind of debates are very important. So we have to raise awareness. And in the university and in Chile, we see many cases of organizations that are fostering a critical view for citizens to use it critically and responsibly. And how can we conduct artificial intelligence to be ethical and to be in the at service of humanity? The question about sovereignty is very important, and in Chile we have developed a local large language model that is called LATAM GPT. It's very interesting because it's based on our own languages and not foreign languages. So that way we can protect our knowledge. And to build local small language models that are sensitive to our culture. And all this is possible with the technologies that we have today. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Martin. Definitely, you're sharing with us very on the edge information. So it's very useful for us and for youth to share this information with us. Finally, but not least, we will have, just so you know, if you have questions for Mikey, for Fran, for Eloise, Martin, please write them down in your notes. We will have a few minutes at the end to have a Q&A session, okay? Because I know a lot of the things that they have been saying might have piqued your interest. So I'm happy now to share with you, as Martin was saying, what could the youth be doing, also Mikey, and the objective why we're here in this inflection, this tipping point that we are as humanity. It is you, the youth, that have the power to make the biggest changes. And that is why we have invited Celeste Ramirez. She's a Chilean student, but Well, she's going to tell you a bit more about it, but soon she's going to be moving to Tasmania because she's a recipient of the United World Colleges scholarship. And she's going to share with you a little bit of her experience with technology. And this is why we invited her, because she's one example. I know that we have a lot of more here and around the world of how we can use technology into our best advantage to pursue our purposes and influence society. So Celeste, we're very excited to have you. Are you here?
Sí, muchas gracias, Lola. Estoy muy feliz de estar con ustedes el día de hoy y voy a hablar al respecto sobre cómo yo he utilizado la tecnología, la inteligencia artificial para servir a los demás y servir a las personas. Así que hablaremos un poco sobre la IA centrada en el ser humano y potenciando la juventud del mañana. Vamos a pasar a la siguiente diapositiva. Sí. Voy a comentarles un poquito de quién soy yo. Actualmente tengo 18 años y voy a representar a Chile en Tanzania en uno de los 18 colegios de United World Colleges. Y antes de eso he tenido muchos proyectos con respecto a la tecnología, porque me apasiona la tecnología, me apasiona la robótica, la inteligencia artificial, como una manera para servir a los demás y ayudar en el desarrollo sostenible del mundo. Antes de eso he participado como preseleccionada nacional en la final nacional mundial de robótica. Además de eso, fui coordinadora de Congreso Futuro, uno de los eventos mundiales más importantes de tecnología, inteligencia artificial y ciencia. Y además de eso, me apasiona mucho la robótica. Me apasiona mucho lo que es lo manual y cómo podemos con la tecnología poder transformar y ayudar a la juventud y a las personas. Por ello, gané la final nacional de robótica acá en Chile. La siguiente diapositiva. Ok. Hablaremos un poco sobre cómo la tecnología, la inteligencia artificial debería apoyar la acción humana. Y esto van a ser por 3 pilares que he podido analizar con respecto a mi vida y mi proceso como juventud en la tecnología. Lo primero es que la robótica como un amplificador del ingenio humano y no como un reemplazo. Cuando yo estoy en una competencia de robótica, nosotros tenemos un proceso donde analizamos el robot, lo creamos y lo programamos. Entonces, en este proceso, el robot es una herramienta de estrategia para el humano. Nosotros somos la creatividad, pero el robot es la herramienta. También podemos analizar como la cooperación internacional mediante la tecnología. Actualmente se están haciendo muchas actividades para las juventudes como Technovation Girls, donde se está intentando quitar la brecha de género en la tecnología en mujeres y además se está intentando potenciar el desarrollo sostenible mediante la tecnología. Entonces, ahora las juventudes estamos teniendo muchísimas herramientas para poder tomar la tecnología y la inteligencia artificial como una herramienta, poder empoderarnos y poder servir a las demás personas. Y por finalizar, la automatización para liberar y potenciar la creatividad social. Se está viendo que la inteligencia artificial y la tecnología no va a reemplazar al humano, sino que es un puente y una herramienta para poder ayudar a la juventud a poder crear estas iniciativas. Y por último también, la IA debería empoderar a las personas y no reemplazarlos. Voy a darles algunos tips que yo como juventud también he hablado con mis pares sobre la inteligencia artificial, ya que lo usamos muchísimo en nuestra vida y sirve muchísimo identificar la inteligencia artificial. Por ejemplo, hay muchos tipos de inteligencia artificiales como generativa, machine learning. Entonces, uno como juventud o como persona, analizar qué tipo de inteligencia artificial está usando, vas a poder usarlo realmente como una herramienta para lo que tú necesitas. Además de eso, el uso responsable de la inteligencia artificial, creo que la IA se integró en nuestras vidas, sobre todo a la juventud, y fue un shock para nosotros, porque empezó a automatizar demasiadas cosas. Entonces, cuando nosotros empezamos a entender cómo funciona la IA, va a dejar de pensar por nosotros, sino que vamos a usarlo, vamos a empezar a entender cómo funciona un prompt, cómo funciona una inteligencia artificial y cómo está automatizando nuestras vidas. Vamos a quitarle ese poder de pensar para nosotros y nosotros vamos a poder analizar. Por último, quiero dejar una invitación a todos los jóvenes que están acá, que innoven, que usen la tecnología para innovar, porque realmente las herramientas están acá y ahora mis objetivos son poder usar la inteligencia artificial, la robótica, para ayudar en el desarrollo sostenible, sobre todo en Tanzania, que me voy a ir prontamente. Así que muchas gracias.
Celeste, thank you so much for sharing your passion, your motivation. We're very happy to have you here. I know that a lot of you would like to hear here in English, and again, I'm very sorry about our translations that didn't work. But one key takeaway that Celeste shared was invite every young person to innovate with technology, to not opt out, as Martin was saying, but be part of it, create solutions. And one of the main motivations she's sharing is that she's moving soon to Tanzania, and she's going to be working with AI and robotics to help influence and improve sustainability in general. So thank you again so much for that. And of course, we want to thank all of our speakers. You've shared very important information with us. And now you can start dropping your questions in the chat. Meanwhile, we do want to, let's see if the following works. Yes, this one works. Great. So from the different speakers we've heard, and also from your own experience, what do you believe is your responsibility during this tipping point of humanity? ¿Cuál crees tú que es tu responsabilidad en este punto de inflexión que estamos teniendo como humanidad? And when we talk about tipping point, it's because the decisions that we are making today are becoming of huge importance to the future. And that is why young people are of key importance. So it would be great for us to have some answers to this question. And while this happens, let me check the chat to look for the questions. Okay, so making decisions, so use AI ethically. That is something very important. So when we talk about technology, we have the consuming part and the creation part. So when we consume technology, it's very important to use it ethically. But when we're creating, we should also be creating technology ethically. Also making digital decisions in analytical and conscious ways. Thank you. I don't know, Ophelia, if you would like to open your mic just to grasp the wholeness of your question.
Yeah, sure. Sorry,
Thank you.
maybe not that clear. Is that I got a lot of ethical concern about the AI, that the fact that we have regulation on the use of it, but also I wonder how we can use it. I mean, for everyone using ChatGPT, for instance, that is developed, if it's developed only and regulated only by one country, they can have like some issue about like the data that has been used. They can be like stolen data, or like data that was not meant to be shared. And also the fact that some data will conjure stereotypes, and the way they're said and they are learned from the machine, they will keep going. So how can we regulate them, I mean, in the global scales, because I mean, there is so many different of culture and ideas around the world. So I guess for me, AI is global question that should be addressed like from an international point of view and not only country by country.
Okay, thank you so much, Ophelie. So before addressing your question, I just want to share that Celeste, she's very, she excused, but she's at school right now and she had to take a test. So we still live in systems that we need to comply with. Also, Martin had to go with his daughter to the hospital. So, but we have Mikey here, and also you're here. So I don't know, Mikey, if you have any takes on that, and if not, I could also build on it.
Thank you, Lola, and thank you, Ophelie. Ophelie, yes.
Yeah.
So this question is very complex, and until now, we're still sort of trying to regulate even the use of social media, and these regulations are still catching up, as I would say. We are not totally there or at that point where we're thinking so much about regulation, though we should be. And really, it goes to show, as of now at least, that there is a sort of civic responsibility that we should all start to build. And so this is why I think at the end of the day, the very least we should build on is our values, which is responsibility, empathy, and I truly believe that regulations on a global scale will just follow naturally. But yes, I think this is the reason why discourse is very important. We need to start questioning the ethics behind this and the implications of an AI world. So, unfortunately, I don't think there's much of an answer, at least on my end, as of now. Although, yeah, go ahead, Lola.
Yeah.
Oh,
Also,
and perhaps also I have
yeah.
an idea. So thanks, Ophelie, for this question. Actually, I saw a lot of people who were a little bit influenced about, as you said, stereotypes and this kind of things on AI. But one thing I can do personally, and I don't know if it will help or something, but as Martin said earlier, he said that it's a robot. He's not thinking for now by himself. He's learning about what we're giving to him, right? Or to eat, sorry. So clearly, if, for example, you see a stereotypes or something, you're a little bit shocked about this because you're like, no, this is not true, or it's wrong, it's not what I'm thinking too, because sometimes what is true or false, right? We can discuss about that too. But I correct the AI and I said, I do not agree with you because for me, this and this and this. And then I can ask him, remember this. And if you remember this, so then it will report directly to the database. And so perhaps if everybody is doing this in their own scale, you don't need to be someone big or high profile to do that, right? You can just train the AI by yourself and by saying, I do not agree. And this is what I want also to see the word. Do you agree or not? Or adapt yourself. And perhaps like that, you can also train the AI to see all the things, because we need to give him some good content, not just because I saw that on social media, people who asked like to do a cow sound or something like that. And I'm like, we are using water to do cow sound. Go to YouTube. I'm not judging, but actually I'm just like, you're losing water or energy or something that is really useful and that we can use as a tool for something that doesn't need that. We didn't need AI to have cow sound, but we can need AI to plan something, to find something, or I don't know, there is a lot of things that we can use AI. And I think if you use AI correctly, so then you will train it, and then it will adapt to you, but also adapt to others who think the same way as you. That's it.
Thank you, Elohim. Just a short comment before I give the word to Ali. There are so many different perspectives when we talk about AI ethically. One that Elohim was just sharing that has to do with sustainability, but then we have values, democracy, mainly everything that we believe as humanity. So I encourage you to learn, not opt out. I think you need to learn about it. You need to use it. You need to be problematized with it. Like, is this good? Is this not? Make sure to, if you're not sure, maybe don't share extra information until you know what information you're sharing. But I think the biggest revolution right now is we need to become better humans, because everyone can use AI right now, the best of society and the worst of society. And we can use it in the same way, in the best of cases, as Mikey shared, to close the gaps, socially and economically, which is democratic. But it could also close the gap in terms of who is using it, for what are you using it. So I think the best of society, and that is what I shared. You should actually, I recommend reading this book, Scary Smart, by Mo Godwat. He also has podcasts and different resources where you can hear his ideas. But he encourages the best of humanity to be online, to use technology, so that AI can learn about the best of us, not only scrolling, and cognitive sedentarism that is also happening. So first, I would like to congratulate you on all the work you're doing, being from Saudi Arabia, being in France, English, your own language. And there is an example where AI actually helps us, because it is helping you navigate cultural barriers, language barriers, etiquette barriers. Sometimes every country has their own etiquette that we are not aware of. So thank you so much for that. And there's Fran is also raising her hand, and we have one more question in the
Thank you
chat that
so
I would
much,
like
and
to
really
address.
nice to meet you. And next time I will be also in the next session. I really enjoyed. And sorry about that. I talk a lot too much, but I wanted
Don't
just,
worry. Enthusiasm, trust us. We all talk a lot, and maybe that's something that comes with age that we learn to maybe tone down, but keep the young energy going and feel free,
Thank you so much.
That's Dialogue Alliance. So dialogue among civilizations. That is what we're aiming.
Bye bye. I'm leaving.
Fran.
Thank you, Lola. I was listening to everyone very carefully, and I have one big takeaway, very related what I was talking in Spanish at the beginning. And it's now we know, we have a lot of evidence, to know the power that we have in the future for the democracies, I don't know, our own surviving in the future. So I just want to send a message here, there are a lot of young people in this webinar. And now you have a lot of evidence to just take very serious your decisions about how you use AI or any kind of technology. And I encourage you to connect with the joy of create and the creativity and achieve things that you think just you can do it, because that is true. Every person is very different, and we have very different talents, and we have very different motivations. So it's super, super important that you embrace that, and you can just change the mindset that you have toward the technology and the AI, and just empower yourself and try new things like outside the AI, outside the technology, experience a lot of different kind of experience, and that can help you to just like connect with yourself and be like yourself and not like a part of like a huge mass, you know? So for my part, like that is a huge takeaway from the whole webinar and the comments that I was reading and listening to. So yeah, so thank you for the space to do that.
Great. So I just want to close answering, or maybe not really answering, because Shrikant, and I hope I pronounce your name correctly. If not, I'm so sorry. But here are some questions. Like, okay, Shrikant, I pronounced good. Do we think that government and controlling authorities will be able to keep the pace with technological advancements in AI? 100% I will say no, because systems are slow. So we need to understand that everyone has a responsibility. So we individuals have responsibilities, governments have their responsibilities, global entities as UNESCO, as GYDCA, like everyone has their own responsibilities, and we need to be accountable for that. So no, they will. I can tell you 100% no, they will not keep the pace. It's impossible. Do we need specific like sector regulations? I would say for some sectors maybe yes, but I think like the most specific regulations are data. How do you say, like that data regulations, your information is yours, and it's important that we understand that we own our own information. So whenever, and I'm sure you've heard this, if the platform is free, then you are the price for it. You're sharing the information, and that is how the platform is earning their finances. So also, do we need a control of World Bank or United Nations on regulations, member countries? Of course we should, and this is why we're making this webinar, because dialogue is important among civilizations. We're different civilizations. This is why Philippines are being represented today, Chile is being represented today. This is the Big South. We have a lot of from, I would say, the Big North now. So the Global North also shares a lot of information, but there's also very good things happening in the Big South. We must understand we are a whole, the whole world, not just some countries, not only Occidental cultures or Oriental cultures, we're all part of it. And this is just as Martin shared, he's going to share the link with me so we can see all the data centers. We are extremely connected, and not only by technology. So we are connected by the oxygen we breathe, and we can see this interconnectedness, environments, ecosystems. We are one big ecosystem, and that involves everything. So the technology that we create and the nature where we walk. Okay, so thank you again, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Elohim, for putting this together. Thank you, Mikey, for sharing your insights from being a teacher at the university at these times. It's not easy. If there's any question that we were not able to answer, please answer. Maybe you can copy again the link for the survey. It's very important for us. We can see it's a great topic, very important one, and hopefully we'll be able to do more activities around this topic so that we give you platforms to talk, to be critical thinkers, but also to be creative young citizens, which is what we aim the most. So thank you again. Please make sure to share your email so we can share the information with you. And we will be sharing more information in our social media, LinkedIn pages. So please stay up to date with that.